Hey guys, this is Claudia here from the Bookkeeping Experts, back for more information, more education with QuickBooks Online. Today we're going to talk about cash transactions, income, and expenses as well. A lot of you get paid with cash, and if you don't have an app integration where transactions are coming through, you will need to create those transactions to match in banking, especially if you charge sales tax. If you do have integration like Square, those transactions will automatically come into QuickBooks, and then as long as you add those transactions from the app transactions, it will go to undeposited funds, then you record it into cash. But for the other transactions, that's what we're going to cover today. By the way, I have another video on Square cash transactions. If you want to check it out, I will put the link down below. But this one would be for those transactions that are not recorded ever. Okay, here we go. QuickBooks Online without much further ado. Okay. Without much further ado. Okay. Here we are, QuickBooks Online. All right. And the first thing we want to do is just take a quick look here. Quick tip before we start. On Craig's Landscaping Services, when I go to the dashboard, I have a little overview of what's going on, things that I need to do, and quick actions such as, adding customers, expense, vendors, bank deposit, and invoices. But one thing that is very important is the bank accounts. If you want to know if your books are up to date and if they are correct, you want to take a look at the bank accounts and verify that the bank balance match whatever is in QuickBooks. Now, if there are transactions that have not been accepted, this number will be different because, of course, you haven't added those transactions into QuickBooks yet. But if all transactions have been added, the number for bank balance should match whatever is in QuickBooks. Okay, so that's a quick tip. You will find those differences when you reconcile. And I do have several videos on reconciling. You can check it out. All right. Okay, so here we go. When you have cash transaction, customer pays you with cash. How do you record in QuickBooks? Okay. First of all, I'm going to take a look in the banking. Sometimes you may deposit, sometimes you may not deposit that. So I'm going to take a look at those two transactions, and let's pretend that this has been deposited from the cash. But before anything else, I'm going to record those transactions. I'm going to create a sales receipt because I already received the cash. So I don't really need to create an invoice unless you have an invoice. If you have an invoice, then you have to mark that invoice as paid and send to undeposited funds, or you can send straight to cash too. In that case, that's okay. So I'm gonna just choose a customer. I'm gonna duplicate this page here. Right click on duplicate with your mouse. So right click on the tab, duplicate, so you can work in two different spaces at the same time. So that helps a lot if you want to get things done quickly, right? Okay, bank transactions in this one, and I just want to take a look at the date here. Okay. All right, so March 4th and February 3rd. So I'm gonna mark this transaction as February 3rd. And Amy Sanctuary, and I'm gonna create an invoice for concrete, and it's, well, actually, let's do a service design. Okay, and I'm gonna say here I got 2 hours, and I can mark down another product as well for $50. Service, another $50, and that matches whatever we got to the bank. But sometimes you may not deposit in the bank, so we're going to talk about that as well. So this one is supposing that you did record in the bank, but okay, we're going to go ahead and save this transaction, and I'm going to create another one for that March. Okay, save. I'm not going to send it because this is just a sample. So we're going to save a new. Okay, we're going to create another sales receipt, and that's for $50. I'm going to select another customer here. This was March 4th. And it's 55. Let's see, design. I'm just going to put just 55 here, because, or we can do service too, whatever it is. So 55. And it's going to go to undeposited funds. That's where I want to go, because that's the workflow of QuickBooks. Okay, you can't send it to cash. Yes, you can. Cash is a little, easier to manage. I would never create a sales receipt and send to the checking account if you're depositing into the cash account, because checking account, because that creates a lot of problems. Okay, one of them is duplication, because if you don't match it, then you're duplicating everything. So I sent to cash. We're going to reconcile the cash account, and I'm gonna go through the regular workflow, which means create a sales receipt or invoice. Sales receipt, send it to undeposited funds, already recording the payment. Then I record the deposit into the bank account that is going to, and I will match it if it is the checking account. But if it is cash, there is no matching, so that's why it goes straight into cash account. Once again, if you do have an invoice, you would be recording the payment on the invoice. So that's a little different. So you're gonna go into invoice and find that invoice, or you can search right over here. If you don't use this search, you should. Okay, so if you click on the magnifying glass here and then just enter here, you can select what kind of transaction you're looking for, which is invoice. Okay, and you can put the invoice number. If you don't have the invoice number but you have the amount, you can enter the amount. Okay, so you can find whatever invoice and mark it as paid, or you can go on the plus new invoice and then select whatever customer and pay the invoice. Actually I create an invoice and I wanted to go to payment, so click on plus new, receive payment, not invoice. Okay, I'm assuming that there is invoice out there, so I'm gonna put Amy's. Let's see. Yeah, there is. So if you have an invoice, you would make sure you make the payment into the invoice, send to undeposited funds if it is cash or check, and then you record it into the cash account. Okay, all right, so that's how we do it. I'm not gonna record this one. Oh, well, you know what, let's go ahead and mark this one as paid as well. I'm going to change the date here. I'm going to say that it was paid on February 1st. And we're going to save and close. So I'm sending it to undeposited funds, okay? And remember, I'm assuming that all these transactions are transactions that I receive cash as a payment. Then the next step is to record the deposit. So I recorded the payment or sales receipt. Then I go to the plus new on the left-hand side menu and I click on bank deposit. So when you send to undeposited funds, what it is that money was recorded as received, or means that you got paid, but you have not recorded that you deposit this funds yet. Okay, so it's sitting down there waiting for you to deposit this money. Now, if you leave it on undeposited funds, like a lot of people, and then you accept it in the checking account, you don't match, you just accept or record it as sales, you are duplicating your sales. And you don't want to do that, because at the end of the year, you are liable for taxes on your income, and your income will be inflated. So you don't want to leave anything on undeposited funds. That is an asset account, just to hold your money until you tell QuickBooks where this money is going to. Okay, it is a very good account because it actually helps you keep track of all the payments and make sure that those payments are accounted for. It means that they got deposited into the checking account and matched. If there is stuff over here after everything has been received, that means that maybe that check has not been, if it has been everything has been matched and everything is being recorded. Maybe that check was not deposited, or maybe that money was not deposited on your account. You can verify that. There's different tools to search, but here we're just talking about cash. So I am going to record the cash transaction. On the bank account, I am going to select that it's cash. I don't have cash on this. This is a simple account, so I create cash on hand right quickly. Okay, but most of you may have it already. So I can create it from here or from the chart of accounts. So those are the transactions we created. We have that $200 here. I'm going to mark it as February 3rd that I received this, and it was cash. It went to cash. Okay. We're going to go ahead and save and new. Save and new. I am going to record that I received also the $55 on March 4th. And that also went to cash on hand. And that $239 also went to cash on hand. But I'm going to tell you a little, and look at the date. We want to make sure we match the date to whatever date we received here, or whatever date you deposited the money. Okay, so save and new. So I recorded that. We're going to ignore this. This is something else. When I recorded the cash transactions, if you go into transactions and chart of accounts, we're going to go view register to see all the transactions that were recorded in cash. And those transactions we recorded are right here. And QuickBooks is saying that I have $494 on my cash account. Now, there's something else that happened. I went ahead and deposited the money into the checking account. What now? So we're going to go ahead and go into the checking account. We're going to find those accounts, and we're not going to record it as sales, because remember, those are already recorded into the cash account. If you click on the 55 and add it, you're going to be able to see the deposit. And if you click on the blue cool cards over here, we're opening the sales receipt with all the details. So I already recorded this. I don't need to record the sales again. So what do I do then, Claudia? So we're going to record this transaction as a transfer. So I'm going to tell QuickBooks, we're going to record as transfer. We're going to tell QuickBooks that this money is coming from my cash on hand account. So I'm taking out of the cash on hand and deposit it into the checking account. So if you have checks, you do the same thing. So you're going to record it to undeposited funds, send it to cash, and then here. Yes, you can have a shortcut and just record it. If it is a check and only one check deposited, you can record straight to the checking account, but you got to be careful. Like I said, I would avoid that, because that's cutting one step of the workflow of QuickBooks Online. And if you don't match here because of whatever, it could be like the amount is not matching, then you have a problem because you're duplicating your income. So the best way is just to record into undeposited funds, into the cash account, and then record it as a transfer. All right, so same thing here. So this one we are going to categorize as a transfer, and here I'm going to say that is cash on hand. So those were income transactions. Okay, now if I go back into my cash account, I'm going to refresh because I'm using two screen and it doesn't update automatically. So if I click on back, chart of accounts, and then I go to my cash on hand, I will see that I have those two income transactions, 255 as deposit, and the payments because I deposited into the checking account. So I took the money out of the cash on hand and I deposited into the checking account. Now, what about this 239? Let's suppose that I never deposited this money and maybe I paid some bills with this cash. How do I record in QuickBooks? Okay, so left-hand side plus new expense. And now I'm going to tell QuickBooks who I'm going to pay. Let's suppose that you pay, I don't know, one of your contractors, and then it didn't come from checking. It came from cash. So you want to make sure you put cash on hand. And you're going to put the date that you paid in whatever category. If it's contractors, I think there's subcontractors here. This is a simple account. Nope, no, there's not. So I'm gonna create right from here, add new. It's an expense account. When you create, make sure you don't create bank account for expense and vice versa. Or make sure you choose the right category, okay? So we are saying that it's a contractor or subcontractor. I can put cost of labor, and then I can put it as contractor. This is if the contractor is not a cost of goods sold. It's not a direct cost for me. This is just a contractor to do whatever work that I need to be done as operations, not as cost, not direct cost to my product. Okay, contractor, save and close. All right, and I am going to say the amount, $100, and cash on hand, and then we're gonna save a new because I'm gonna record another expense. Okay, took a little while. Okay, I'm gonna say that I pay, sometimes you can pay your employees some tips if you receive tips. So let's see. Charlie Johnson. I'm just creating a name here. If you are Charlie Johnson, I'm not talking about you. This is just a name that I came up with. I'm gonna say that it's cash on hand. And here, if you receive tips and you recorded those tips on the liability account, keep in mind that tips is not income for you if you're collecting and distributing to your employees. It stays on the liability account. Short-term liability stays on the balance sheet. Money in, money out, money in, money out. So I'm going to say here that it's tips. And I don't have tips here. Okay, so I'm going to create a quick tips account, but if I don't have tips, I don't want to create because that means I didn't record the liability. So this is to cover a liability, okay? So other current liability, but let's suppose that there was already, so that's why I'm doing that. Okay, undistributed tips is right here. So tips, sub account, okay. So I'm gonna say that I'm paying tips to my employees. I received it and I paid. I can actually record the other side as well so that we can see. Let's say that's $10, and okay, so I received and I paid with cash. I'm gonna save and close, and I'm gonna record this tips payment in the books as well so that you know that's gonna be income, by the way. So it's gonna be a bank deposit, or you can just, usually you will have that on your sales receipt, but let's suppose that I didn't put that. So I'm going to put February, and I'm going to say that I received some tips. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. Cash customer. Cash customer. Okay. Okay, and okay, so that's $10 over here. And the account, I'm gonna say that is tips. I created that tips account, remember? So this is money into the tips account that I'm gonna record, okay? So I'm gonna save and close. And we're gonna take a look at the cash on hand so that we can see what's going on here. So I just created a deposit here. I'm not paying against anything. I'm just recorded that I received it, but most likely you will have those tips on the sales receipt. So I'm gonna go to transactions, chart of accounts, and here it is. We're gonna have the cash on hand, view register, and those are all the transactions I recorded. So how do I reconcile that? So I want to make sure I take a look at my cash on hand, see that this is the amount I have. If not, if there is something that I used up for personal, then I want to make sure that I tell QuickBooks that I use some of this money as well. So I can even record a journal entry or a transfer that maybe I use some of this money, so I cash on hand, and here I'm gonna say honors. Yep. distribution. Oh, I don't have it. So we're going to create the distribution here, or owner's pay. Okay, it's an equity account because it doesn't count in your profit and loss. We're gonna say distribution, and you can call it personal expense or owner's distribution is the same thing. And I'm gonna say that I took $50 and maybe I bought something with it, and and I'm recording it. Okay, so now I know that my balance on my cash account is correct and it's $89. I know that these transactions, see all the income and all the expenses are right here. I'm gonna reconcile. Usually you can look in your books or in your on your petty cash and verify that this is correct, and then you're gonna put the balance over here, and you're gonna put the ending date, which is in this case is March 4th. That's the last transaction. Let's suppose that's when I am reconciling. I want to choose all the transactions. If you have a log for those transactions, you want to compare them, you can do that. Let's suppose that's exactly what you're doing. And at the end, oh, look at that. Zero difference means that all transactions are accounted for. And finish now. Yay! Okay, that's it. Okay, let's go back here. So, and that's it for cash transaction, income and expense. All right. Okay, very important. Keep your cash account up to date because you need to have your books accurate. You want to record all your expenses, all your tips. You want to make sure that the tips are up to date, that has zero balance, or that your employees that you paid with cash or contractors are accounted for, and that whatever it is in cash represents exactly what you have. So it's part of maintaining your book in a way that is perfect, and you can keep track of what's going on with your business. Thank you for watching. I absolutely love helping business owners across the world. Love talking to you, by the way. Love talking to each one of you. And I love when somebody just put a note there and say, oh, thank you for this video. It has helped. It makes me feel so, so happy. And if you want something that I haven't covered yet, you want me to cover, right down below. We can cover that for you in the future. If you have a question in regards to this content, also write down below. We'll go ahead and answer those questions pretty quickly, actually. I hope you can come back for more. If you like this content, please support our channel and subscribe to our channel. We're going to come back every week with different things, helping you close your books at the end of the year so you can get it ready for your CPA. And we want you to, more than that, much more than that, I want you to understand what's going on with your business. So you can take a look at any time and see what kind of adjustments you need to do in order to take your business to the next level. My main goal is to see you succeeding, and makes me so happy to see businesses succeeding because now they can understand their finances and they can set the right goal. They can aim to the right target because they know exactly where they are. Thanks for watching. I will see you next week. But until next time, you keep on smiling.